All right. So, um, chapter 16, oral radiology. This is kind of a long chapter. And also, too, what I would like to do is when we get back into, when we start going to clinic, uh, one day I just want to go over 15 and 16 again. I think would be good for all of us to be there and go over it again. It wouldn't hurt.
That sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, it does. It sounds awesome. And chapter 2, I want to do that as well over jurisprudence. Okay, so interoral views. Types of interoral views. There are 3 types. There's going to be a bite wing, an occlusal, and a periapical. Periapical is where it shows the crown of the tooth all the way to the apex and a little above the apex. Do you see the sample or the example down at the bottom on 216 where it says periapical? So you can see where it shows the crown, the root, the whole entire tooth structure. That is a periapical. Now on state board, they're going to show a picture of either a bite wing or a periapical, and it will say what type of x-ray is this. And you just click on what type of x-ray it is. So, and typically it will be the periapical that they show. Now the bite wing, if you notice in that x-ray, it shows the crown and part of the root on the maxilla and the crown and part of the root on the mandible. Now, most of the time, bite wings are taken when a patient comes in for a cleaning. That way they can see in between the teeth and also see the bone level. The bone level should be right there at the CEJ, where the crown and the root meet. So, if it's much lower, the bone level is much lower, it means there's some bone loss. And then the bottom one is the occlusal. See how it looks like there's like 12 different teeth in that x-ray? That is an actual x-ray of a child. So what they do, it's called for kids, you'll use a size 2 film. And we tell little kids, okay, we're going to get a little x-ray on you. It's called a cookie. So you would take the x-ray, just have them close down on it. Now, guys, this was someone's project. Can y'all see this? Okay. So what is this right here that I'm pointing? So this is your tube head. What is this right here called? The cone part of the tube head. Do y'all remember what that's called? It's 3 letters.
PID.
PID. Good. So this is your PID. And of course, this part would be your tube head. And in your tube head is where you have your cathoid, your anoid, your filter, your collimator. Okay. So with kiddos, you would have them back down on this film, and you would point the PID right there above the nose and take the x-ray. And that is an occlusal x-ray. And so that x-ray that you see, it's showing the permanent teeth and their baby teeth. That's why it looks like that. Okay. We used to take occlusals on adults the same way as we did for kids, but it was a bigger film. It was like don't know if y'all can see my hands. It was like a size 4 film. But the panoramic machine, the one that you stand up and it goes all the way around your head, that pretty much took the place of an occlusal film for adults, which was the size 4. But we still use the size 2 film for kids to get the occlusal x-ray. Have I lost anybody yet? No? Okay. All right. The latent image is invisible. So if I took this x-ray, took an x-ray, the image is on here, but until I develop it, you can't see it. So it's an invisible, it's on here, but it's invisible until I process it and develop it. Kind of like a camera where you would take your pictures. The pictures are on there, but until you take it to Walgreens or CVS and get them developed, you can't see them. So those are the latent images. Y'all following me? Okay. All right. Inside this film packet, and do you have your films in front of you? I would like for y'all to get your films in front of you. You should have 2 films, a size 2 and a size 1. So everybody make sure that you have these in front of you, because we're going to open these here in a minute. Okay. No one's saying anything, so I'm assuming y'all have them. All right. So in this film packet, if I open it up, there's 1 film. Abby, you got something?
I found it.
Perfect. I think they're in your cups. Okay. So there's 1 film in here. And sometimes a film packet would have 2 films in it. And the purpose of that was we would get a film mount, which a film mount looks like it would be a film mount is on 223 at the bottom. That's what a film mount looks like. And so we would mount the 1 set of films, and then the second set of films we would put in a coin envelope, and that way if the insurance company needed a copy, we would just mail them the second film. Now everything's digital, so all we do is hit send to the insurance company. All right. Your common film sizes are going to be a 0, and a 0 is a little smaller than this, and that's used for kids. Then there's a size 1, which you have. It's that tinier, skinnier looking one. That's a size 1. A size 1 is used for anterior teeth. Then you have a size 2. This is the 2. And this size 2 is used for periapicals for the posterior, and also for bite wings, and also for the occlusal for the kiddos. A size 3, I've never taken an x-ray with a size 3 film. I don't even think I've ever seen a size 3 film. And then a size 4 film, That's what I was saying, that it's a little bigger than this 2, and a 4 would have been used for an adult. So with digital x-rays, there's what's called a sensor, and it's going to be the same size as a 0, a 1, and a 2. And the sensor acts just like the film, but you plug it into a USB port in the computer, and that's what, the minute you take the x-ray, it pops it up onto the computer screen. But the sensor comes in the same sizes, the 0, the 1, the 2, as it would in film. Film care during exposure. Never leave. So this film, you would get out your whatever you needed, however many films you needed to take on the patient. But then if you had extra, you never want to leave it sitting out, because what happens is the scattered radiation goes to the film that you don't need. If you leave it out all day and it keeps getting scattered radiation all day, then when you go to actually use the film that was exposed to scattered radiation all day, when you go develop it, it will look foggy. So there might be a question about what causes film fog on an x-ray, and it's from scattered radiation. Turn the page. Regardless, so intraoral radiograph techniques, regardless whether you are using a conventional film or a digital system, 2 basic techniques are used. The periapical views will be paralleling technique, and the bisecting technique. So what that means is, here's my fancy. So for bite wings, you're always going to be just like this. You're going to keep it parallel. And also for upper x-rays, you would be like this. For lowers, you would be more tilted a little bit. So the bisecting technique, that would be if he did a root canal, and he will always need a final x-ray after he has completed a root canal. And that's for insurance purposes, so insurance will pay their portion of the root canal. So what the bisecting technique does is, say your roots are like this. If you angle it just a different way, it opens it up and kind of makes it look 3D. So if you were supposed to be just like this, and you went a little to the left or a little to the right, that would open it up and create your bisecting technique. 2 basic principles define paralleling technique. The film is placed parallel to the long axis of the tooth that's being x-rayed. So it means that your film is basically at an angle. Like, here's your tooth, but your film is like that. It's not going to be straight up and down on the tooth. It's going to be angled. And the x-ray beam is directed at the right angle. So they're getting technical here, but do you need to know this part for state board? Yes. But when you're taking an x-ray, you're going to always aim your PID to where the film is. So if you're If you're on an upper, you would be like that, angling it to the film. If it's a bite wing, you're always going to take a bite wing x-ray horizontally. Always. Don't be a little up or a little down, because that can make the teeth look overlapped on an x-ray. And the purpose of a bite wing is so you can see in between the teeth. So if you're directly horizontal, you'll get that perfect bite wing x-ray. Film or sensor holding instruments. Do you see this guy, this little guy? So this, it comes in red, yellow, and blue. Follow along with me. Go ahead and turn to page 220 so you can get an actual visual of what it looks like. At the top, and you can write out next to it, okay? The blue is going to be the film holder. The blue film holder is going to be for anterior teeth. So you can put anterior or ANT on the blue. The red film holder is going to be for bite wings. B-I-T-E, wings. W-I-N-G-S. And how I remember that the bite wings is the red film holder is because if you bite someone hard enough, they're going to bleed red. That's how I remember it. And then the yellow is for posterior x-rays, for posterior teeth. And how I remember the yellow is for posterior is, I think of my derriere, it's in the back where the sun don't shine. And the sun is yellow. I know, it's silly, but that's how I remember. Do y'all see the black? And it has like a wire going down it. That's what a sensor looks like. That's an actual sensor. It takes the place of film. It's what the digital x-rays. So those film holders are called XCPs, or they're called RENs. So I don't know if you're, some doctors, I've had them say, oh, I need a red REN. And then I've had some doctors say, I need a red XCP. But they're both the same thing. Okay. Whenever we take x-rays on patients, we always have them sitting straight up. Okay. Straight up in the chair. If they have glasses on, have them take their glasses off, because it gets in the way. Like if this was in their mouth, the glasses get in the way. All right, I'm still on 220, page 220. Point of entry. Point of entry is the position on the patient's face which central x-ray beam is aimed. The goal is to cover
What's the green one?
The green is for root canals, RCT.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I don't know if I just stuck all my crazy in your face. All right, so the point of entry, it's the central beam. It's going directly to the film, point of entry. Okay. I'm glad I brought that home. All right. Vertical angulation and horizontal angulation. Anytime you're taking a periapical x-ray of the uppers, you're always going to be vertical for the upper and vertical for the lower. For bite wings, you're always going to be horizontal. Okay. Now, two things can happen if you have too much vertical angulation or not enough angulation. So if you need to be right here and you're like, ooh, like that, and you really need to be like that, it can cause foreshortening. So if you see down on 221, that first picture, B, that's called foreshortening. That means the vertical angulation was too steep. And it makes the roots look really, really short. And then if your vertical angulation was supposed to be here and it's more here, that makes the teeth look, the roots look super long. And that's called elongation. So one of you might get a question on your test about foreshortening. One might get a question about elongation. But definitely know both because you don't know what test you're going to get. All right. I talked about the bisecting technique when you either move it, the tube head a little to the right or a little to the left, and it opens up the roots. But on state board, the bisecting technique is based on a geometric principle of bisecting a triangle. So if you see the word triangle, it's talking about the bisecting technique. So triangle is the key word there. Now, on 223, y'all see that film mount, right? So one of the questions on the state board is how many x-rays make up a FMX? In your book, it says as few as 10 x-rays or as many as 18. It can even go up to 21, but it will never go over 21. Okay. If someone came in and they only had 12 teeth left in their head, you would take an x-ray of all 12 teeth and call that an FMX. Okay. But most of these film mounts will be either 18 or 21. But a film mount will never go over 21. So on state board, when it asks you that question, how many x-rays make up an FMX? You're going to have to estimate, just guess, the best scenario that they give you. It could say 10 to 24. Would you pick that one? No.
No.
So, yeah. So you're just, they're going to give you A, B, C, and D, and they're going to give you different numbers. And you just know that it's never less than 10 and never over 21. Okay. All right. But looking at that, and this is why I so wish I can get into Evolve and show y'all how to practice mounting x-rays. That's what I was going to do today, was get in Evolve and show y'all how to mount. if I can, I mean, hopefully the situation will be resolved by Monday. So y'all want to go live from now on? Like, do y'all want to go live from now on, like every single day? Of course, we're going to go live on Monday anyway because, we always schedule that. So I can show y'all how to mount x-rays on Monday. Okay. Yes.
Wait, does that mean go live every day, every week?
Yeah.
I personally I like the YouTube ones just because it's just, I could do that any time of the day. It was just really convenient.
Okay. Well, I'm recording going live every day. So, and like yesterday, I recorded it and put it up. Will that work too for you if everyone else still wants to go live? So the people that want to go live, I'll go live with, record it, and then I'll upload it to YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
What if we just went back to what we were doing
Okay, we can do that.
to YouTube?
Okay, we can do that. That's fine. We can do that. So Abby and Rosalind won't. Okay. And also that might help Kamaya as well. So so starting next week, we can go back to what we were doing. Where Mondays and Wednesdays we go live, Tuesdays and Thursdays it will be on YouTube. Sound good?
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Cool. Awesome.
Hopefully they'll just lift all this soon and we can go to class.
I know. I have a feeling though next week we'll definitely be doing this next week, but maybe the week after we'll be able to get back in. I hope. That is what I hope. Because we only have next week and the week after anyway.
That would be nice because I feel like we would all be more comfortable actually learning in class.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yep. Yep. Yeah. For sure. Because I want to see y'all's little lovely faces. So on the film mount, down at the bottom of 223, those 4 x-rays in the middle, those are your anterior x-rays. And then at the very top, on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side of those anterior x-rays, those are your periapical x-rays of your molars and premolars. So when you're taking an FMX, you'll take x-rays of the molar, and then you would come a little forward and get the premolar. So it's a molar shot, move a little forward, molar, premolar shot. Same thing on the bottom. Molar shot, come a little forward, do molar, premolar shot. Then you would take your 2 bite wings in the middle. So a bite wing for your molar shot, come a little forward, molar, premolar bite wing shot. And that's what's in the middle there. And then on your anterior, some film mounts will have either 1, 2, 3, 4, or it would be 1, 2, 3, where you would get your canine anteriors, or your 8 and 9, and then your canine shot. Same thing here. Canine shot 24 and 25, and then your canine shot. So 3 to 4 anterior, 2 PAs here, 2 PAs here, 2 bite wings. Then you would come over here, do the same thing. You would get your molar, premolar shot, molar, premolar shot, and then your 2 bite wings. And that would be an FMX, a full series of x-rays. A full mouth x-rays is what FMX stands for. And an FMX is only taken once every 5 years. All right. So do y'all notice on your film, get your film, there's a white side to the film, and there's a blue and white side, or a turquoise blue and white side? The white side of the film will always, always face your PID. So when you put it in the mouth, the white side of the film will touch the teeth and it will face the PID, your positioning indicator device. So the white side of the film will always face your PID. All right, turn the page. This is a long chapter. Occlusal technique, I showed y'all that. So for, like I said, for kids, it's going to be a size 2 film. For adults, it would be a size 4. It might ask you what the vertical angulation for an occlusal technique is, and it's 35 to 65 degrees. So it's asking what angulation, what degrees of angulation. 35 to 65. And that would be for occlusal technique. Infection control when we're taking x-rays. So after the films come out of the mouth, you're going to have, and in your bag you had a plastic cup. It can either be a plastic or a paper cup, and you would put the films that were contaminated with saliva, put them in the cup. Because on State Board it says, how do you transfer films from the treatment room to the processor? In a plastic or paper cup. Okay? All right. On page 227, I want you to look at what a developer of a automatic film processor looks like. It's at the very top there on 227. Do y'all see that? That would go in a dark room, and it means it's in there, the door shut, you can't see anything. It's a dark room, and that's what we develop the x-rays with. The guy next to it, B, that's called a daylight loader. And you would stick your hands with the film into the sleeves, and you can, you don't have to be in a dark room. And you would stick your hands in the sleeves, and at the top there is an orange cover. And you can actually open the films and load them into the automatic film processor. But talking about processor, now let's go back over to 224. I just wanted you to get a visual before I talked about what developing solution is and what fixer solution is. The first step in processing begins with the developer solution. And that's easy to remember. That's the first solution that your film's going to go in. Because when you go to, you're going to go develop a film. So it's going to go in the developer solution first. Okay. So the developer solution softens the emulsion After developing partially processed films are rinsed in water to remove any remaining chemicals. Then it goes into the fixer solution. After it goes into the developer solution, then it goes into the fixer solution. The fixer solution removes the unexposed silver halide crystals and creates white to clear areas on an X-ray. After it's gone through the fixer solution, then it goes into the water, and the water rinses off any residue that's on the film. So it's developer, fixer, water when it's going through the automatic film processor. Now, long time ago, we had to do it all by hand, and you had these tanks, and you have the developer solution in a tank, you had the fixer solution in a tank, and you had the water in a tank. And you would take the film, it had something to hold the film, and you would dip it in the developer for 10 seconds. You would pull it out, rinse it off, then you would pull it out, stick it in the fixer for 10 seconds, pull it out, put it in the water, rinse it off, and then you would hang it to dry, and it took about 45 minutes for the film to dry. So it was a long process. And that was before that's how they used to develop the film. And then they have the automatic processor that came out. And that one, like I said, you go in a dark room, you open up the film, put the film, and there's little rollers, and it would roll it into the different solution. And then when the film came out, it went through a dryer, and it would dry the film automatically. And that took about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to develop X-rays with the automatic film processor.
So kind of like a Polaroid?
Say it again. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Okay. When we take X-rays, sometimes the X-rays don't come out that great. Okay. What's nice about the digital, if you take an X-ray and it looks like poo, you can just hit delete and retake it right then, which is awesome. But if I took this film, okay, and I'm going into the processor, the dark room. If I took this film and I never opened it, and I go into the dark room, I open it up, I stick it in, it comes out, it's going to come out clear. If I open this right now, I exposed it to light, I go in the dark room to develop it, it would come out black. So that's underexposure, comes out clear. Exposed comes out dark. Overexposure, underexposure. It might ask you what white light is on a film. It's kind of dark as well. But white light is when you're in the dark room and the door's not shut all the way and some light is seeping through the cracks. That's white light. Incorrect horizontal angulation. So if you were taking a bite wing and you're supposed to be exactly horizontal and you're more like this or like this, it will cause the film, again, to look overlapped. But you want it to be separated. Another thing, we talked about too steep or not steep enough, elongation and foreshortening. Let's see. Where's my film? I want to talk about the herringbone effect. That's M. M is the herringbone effect. So if I took my film and the white side of the film will always go towards the T, but I accidentally put the blue and white side towards the T, when I went to develop this film, it would look like tire tracks on the film. And that is called putting, I don't know how they would word it on state board, incorrect positioning of the film can cause what? And it would be the herringbone effect. Double exposure. Say I just took this x-ray. Well, then I used the x-ray again. It would come out looking like 5,000 teeth were taken on one x-ray. That's double exposure. Accidentally using the same film twice. Any questions? Manual processing. Turn the page to 268. So manual processing, that's the one that I talked about, where we used to have to hand dip it. The temperature on the solutions needed to be 68 degrees. Now, on state board, guys, they try to trick you, okay? One of the questions I've seen where it says, when developing a digital film, what temperature does the developer solution need to be? When developing a digital film, what temperature does the developer solution need to be?
It doesn't matter because it's digital.
That's right. Exactly. It's digital. So there is no temperature. So really read those questions when you're taking your state board. Okay? Because they try to trick you. They might even ask you the same question, but just worded different. Like one question, and then go on down the test, and there's the same question, but worded different. So, all right. You know, I was talking in the dark room. You would shut the door, and it would be completely dark. Well, there's actually a light in the dark room, and it's called a safe light. There is not a picture in your book of a safe light, but y'all can Google what a safe light looks like in a dark room. It has a red cover on it, and it gives you just enough illumination that you can hold your x-ray up to it and open up your package. But it's called a safe light. And the light bulb's not red, but it has a red covering. The light bulb you can only get through a dental supply company. You can't get it from like Home Depot. Alright. For an automatic film processor, they might ask the temperature on that as well. The temperature is going to be 85 to 105 degrees. And they might ask you how long it takes to process a film with an automatic film processor. And it's 4 to 6 minutes. When we did it by hand, it took almost an hour. And it's because they had to the film had to hang up and dry. That's what took the longest part. The care of an automatic film processor, typically it's cleaned once a month. You would have to drain all the chemicals out. There would be a spray that you would clean all the rollers, let it dry, and then put the machine back together and refill it with new solution. It was a pain in the butt. Now, most offices are digital. Awesome. Duplicating x-rays. If your office still does use the automatic film processor, they will show you how to duplicate a film. Okay. Duplicating film almost looks like a piano. And say you had an FMX, you would lay the FMX on the duplicating film, turn on a light, turn off the light, and then put the duplicating film. It's a big sheet, and put that into the automatic film processor, and it would come out. But now we just hit send because everything's digital. Because the patients can always get copies of their x-rays, they can never have their original. Because who owns the original?
The dentist.
The dentist. Yes. Some dentists, though, will charge the patient for copies. Like $30, which I think is silly. Because I feel like the patient already paid for their x-rays. But some offices do. All right. Also know that the longer the duplicating film is exposed to light, the lighter the duplicating film will become. What I want y'all to do right now is I want y'all to open this film packet. Okay, y'all need to know what's inside this film packet. So that this part, before you open it, is known as the outer wrapper. Now just peel it, open it, pull it out. You have your lead foil. You see your lead foil? Y'all see the little dots on the lead foil where it looks like tire tracks? So if you put your film in backwards, that's what's showing up on the film, the tire tracks, the herringbone effect from the improper placement of film. So you have your lead foil, you have your black paper, and then you have your film. On your film are those crystals we can't see. Okay? The larger the crystals means what? Do you remember from yesterday? The larger the crystals, what? The faster the speed of film. Okay. So there's crystals on there. I can't see them, but they're there. But on the corner, and you'll have to find your film, on the corner should be a dot. It feels like a braille dot. And yeah. Okay. Y'all feel the dot and let me know if you feel it. It feels like a braille dot. Was that a yes? Okay, that's known as a embossed dot, okay? And what that's important for is when we're mounting the films in the film mount, that dot looks like a pimple. That pimple needs to be facing us. So pimp out. Pimple, not dimple. So when you put it into the film mount, that pimple is facing you. And that's going to help you mount your x-rays in the right direction. Okay. So pimple, not dimple. Pimp out. And that's your embossed dot. So again, you have your what does the film packet consist of? Outer wrapper, lead foil, black paper, and your film. All right. Excuse me. Types. Now we're going to talk about the different types of digital x-rays. So your digital x-rays, you have the sensor, and then you also have, is there a picture? Let me see. Yep. On 232, there's a picture of a sensor. And then there's also a picture of the phosphor plate. The phosphor plate is B. You'll see B. It has a number 2 on it. That's a phosphor plate. It works the same as film. So you would use either your office would either have phosphor plates or they would have the sensors. But they're both digital. With the sensor, the minute that you take the x-ray, it pops up onto the computer screen. With the phosphor plates, you use it just like you would conventional film, and then you would have to scan it into the computer with a machine, and then it pops up on the computer screen. That's the only difference. And those sensors are a little bulkier than, it's a lot bulkier than using the phosphor plates. The phosphor plates is thin like film. Now, anytime that we're going to take x-rays with a sensor or a phosphor plate, we always make sure that we have barriers on them so they don't get contaminated. Okay? And they're plastic barriers. So let's talk about the solid state technology. With the solid state system, a sensor or a charged coupler device, CCD. So on state board, it won't say sensor when it's asking about the sensor. It's going to say CCD. Okay, is the image receptor. It contains an X-ray silicon chip with an electronic circuit embedded in the silicon. The image is recorded on the sensor, and it's then sent to the computer with electronic impulses. And it might say, how is the CCD, I don't know, how is it recorded or sent, or how, electronic impulses. And it might ask you what the CCD is plugged into, and it's plugged into a USB port. The phosphor plates, that's what looks like film. They're black and they'll have a number on them, and it would be the number of the size of the film, either a 1, 0, or a 2. It's reusable. So imagine if this film was a phosphor plate, okay? Once I use it, I scan it through the machine, and it goes into the computer, and then it shows up on the computer screen. Well, then this comes out of the machine, and it erased the image. So the phosphor plates are reusable, and they're about $25 a piece. So they are reusable. So the abbreviation for phosphor plates is PSP. PSP, phosphor plates. So turn the page. Do y'all see all those images? A, C, E, G, I, K. They're pointing out landmarks on an x-ray. Look at G. Do you see how it kind of goes up like the patient is smiling? That's known as the curve of speed. Do y'all see on I'm trying to see if there's a good one. Okay, where it says conoid process of the mandible. E, I think it's E. Do you see where it looks like rain clouds above the teeth? That's your sinus. So anytime you're looking at an x-ray and you see where it looks like a rain cloud up above the apex of the teeth, you'll always know that those are upper teeth. Upper teeth will always show that sinus. It looks like a rain cloud. And it points out above it, maxillary sinus appears. Do you see that? Hey, Rosalind. So on E, on that tooth, and that's actually tooth number 3. On tooth number 3, what does tooth number 3 have?
Does it have a bridge?
Ah, nice. Okay, so you're the one above it. That is a bridge, actually. That's what a bridge looks like on a x-ray. What about the tooth below it? Tooth number 3, the tooth below it.
I'm not sure.
A root canal. Y'all see how
Okay.
in the middle of the where the pulp would be,
That's lighter.
it's white. Yeah, that's a root canal. And then the one that's above the root canal, that is the bridge. All right. Let's go over to page 231. Scanning the phosphor storage plates. Plates with exposed images that were exposed at the proper setting may be stored for 12 to 24 hours. So if I did have my phosphor plate and I took an x-ray, they're always going to be stored in this black box because if they're exposed to light, it will erase the image. So they're kept in a black box. But they can be kept in that black box until you develop it for 12 to 24 hours. I wouldn't risk it, but if you had to go that long, you could. So when it goes through the machine, it erases the image, okay? So erasing the image is done by flooding the plates with a bright light such as on a dental view box. Y'all don't know what a view box is, but when we get to clinic, I'll show it what it is. It's where you would put the x-rays and then turn on a light and you could see the x-rays with the traditional film. On the computer, though, if you're using the sensor, the image is recorded on the computer in 0.5 to 1/20 seconds. They might ask you when developing digital x-rays, how long does it take? Okay. It's 0.5 to 1/20 seconds. Now go over to page 233. We talked about making sure, do y'all see right there how there's a plastic cover on that sensor? So that's a barrier. So every patient gets a new barrier. With the sensors, they're very, very sensitive. That fiber optic cable is very sensitive. So make sure it never gets bent. But you would just wipe it down. You would just disinfect it. And you hang it up so it doesn't get damaged. But when you go to use it, you put on a barrier to use it on each patient. Of course, that would never go into the autoclave. It'd be like putting, I don't know, a metal can in your microwave. Okay, radiation safety and protection. Guys, I know this is boring. Radiology, it's boring, but it is the hardest part to stay bored. And that's why I definitely want to go over it again when we are in person. So, all right, as low as reasonably achievable. What does that mean, Stephanie? We talked about it yesterday.
I don't remember.
Anybody remember what ALRA stands for? As low as reasonably achievable?
Is it like
Minimizing the levels of radiation.
Good guess, but what it means is we're not going to take unnecessary x-rays. We're not going to expose the patient to radiation unless we
So basically it means we want to expose the patient to as little radiation as possible.
Perfect. That's exactly it. Expose the patient to as less radiation as possible. Yep. That's exactly what that means. Good. All right. Pano. Has anyone ever had a panoramic x-ray done on them? Where you stare at the machine and it goes all the way around your head?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right there underneath where that lady's getting an x-ray on page 233, there's what a pano looks like. So when you go to take someone's pano, make sure that they take out all their jewelry, earrings, nose rings, if they can take out their tongue ring, lip ring, because what happens is, and girls, I've done it. This girl had hoops, and I forgot to tell her to take them out. And so when the x-ray came out, all in the middle of the hoop were hoops on that x-ray. So I had to retake it. So make sure they take out their jewelry. If they're wearing partials, because partials replace missing teeth, partials are made out of metal, make sure they take their partial out too. On state board, I've seen this, and that's why I made y'all write it. How is a panoramic X-ray produced? It's produced on an intensifying screen. Images produced on an intensifying screen. Also, when we get back into the class, I have a handout that I'm going to give y'all. It's questions straight from State Board, and I'll give you the answers. And that will also help you as a study guide when you go to study. Okay. All right. What can we see on a pano? The entire maxilla and mandible can be seen on one large film. There's less radiation involved when taking a pano versus taking a FMX. Less radiation.
Really? With that big machine, it's less radiation?
Yep. Believe it or not. Yep. 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 Less radiation than an FMX. Now, some dentists will they will ask you to get 4 bite wings in a pano and call that an FMX. So it depends on your doctor. They might want you to take the full FMX, the whole 18 to 21 x-rays, or they might just want you to get a pano and 4 bite wings and call that an FMX. But it depends on your doctor. But yeah, less radiation, believe it or not. Every office, their pano machine is different. The concept's the same. The patient stands up, they hold on to the handles. There's a little bite block. They rest their chin and they bite on the bite block, and then their feet are together and they're standing tall, and it goes around the head. But like Monarch, Monarch is a corporation. I've been into several Monarchs, and they all have a different pano machine. So when you start extern, they'll show you how to use their pano machine. But the concept will be the same.
I've had one where I sit down in it. Is that like the same?
Oh, yeah? Well, if someone's, are you real tall? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm tall, but at Morgan Orthodontics, where I do get my braces done at, they have one that you sit down in.
Oh, yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure do. Go Mo. Yep, they sure do.
That's where I had my braces done.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I love her. She's awesome.
Yeah, I loved it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes if your patient is really, really tall, you can have them sit in a chair and get the pano that way. But yeah, at Morgan, you're right. They do. I've seen it. They have the where you sit down. Anytime we're going to get x-rays, we, of course, let the patients know, hey, we're going to get a full series of x-rays. And if they're like, okay, great, take the x-rays. Now, your older patients that are on a fixed income, they may say that they don't want x-rays at that time because they're really good about getting their teeth cleaned every 6 months. But they don't have the money to get x-rays every single time. Because most of the times when we take, or when they get a cleaning, they get bite wing x-rays. So if they say they don't want them, then we have to have them sign what's called a refusal form. And it just says that they do not want x-rays. But we also have to explain to them, okay, well, if you have a cavity and, we're not going to be able to see it, if they still say, no, I don't want x-rays, then let them sign the consent form. Anytime we do take x-rays, we need to chart it. We need to say what kind. So if it was a pano and 4 bite wings, we have to put that in the chart anytime we take an x-ray. If a patient comes in for a toothache and we're just getting an x-ray of the tooth that hurts, we have to put 1 PA on tooth number 2, or whatever tooth number we took the x-ray for. And what does PA stand for again? Do y'all remember? What type of x-ray? PA.
Panoramic.
Good guess. A panoramic is known as a pano. A pano is short for panoramic. What's PA short for? Periapical. And what does the periapical get? It gets the crown of the tooth all the way to the apex. That's a periapical. Okay. All right. And of course, we already know who owns the x-rays. The dentist. The dentist. Do y'all have any questions? I'm sure you do, or anything that you're confused about. And like I said, guys, we will go over this again in person. Okay? We will go over this in person again. And it's going to make, chapter 16 especially, will make more sense when we do hands-on. When you're positioning your tube head. When you're literally placing the film in the mouth using the film holders. All that will make sense. Like, I don't know if y'all can see. Can y'all see my ring? Can y'all see my PID? So whenever you're taking an x-ray, you will always put the cone directly on the ring. If it was like that, is the cone directly on the ring?
No.
No. So where the cone is not on the ring, if I took an x-ray right now, whenever the x-ray comes out, there will be the image of where the cone is, but do you see at the bottom by my hand where the cone's not covering? That would actually come out clear. So there would be the image of the teeth, but at the bottom it would be clear. And that's known as cone cutting. Because I didn't have my ring directly on top of my cone directly on top of my ring. It was off. So whatever's not covering down here would come out clear, and that's known as cone cutting. But see, when we're able to get back in upstairs into clinic, 16 will just all kind of come together. So I definitely want to learn how to take x-rays before we go over chapter 15 and 16 again. Because touch it, feel it, know it, and then we'll review again. How does that sound? Good. Awesome. Okay. I'm hoping that, well, I'm not hoping. I'm going to make it happen. On Monday, I will show y'all on Evolve how to learn how to mount x-rays on Evolve. And we'll do it together as a class. And hopefully Kamaya will be on too, which will be good. So that way she's not missing out on kind of hands-on. Because if we were at the school, I would have y'all do this upstairs on the computer, what we have, what we're going to do on Monday. Okay, so it would be hands-on. All right, guys.
I feel like I'm